What's going on, guys? Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Red and Gold Standard Podcast. My name is Zach Hernandez, and as always, I am joined by my co-host, Mike Andrews. Matt might join us if he gets home while we're still on, but for now, it is myself and Mike. We got a great show planned for you guys this evening, tonight, wherever it is that you're watching from, whatever time zone. We're going to be previewing the Super Bowl that's tomorrow. We're going to be talking about the latest 49ers news, new additions to the coaching staff. And if we have time, maybe we'll go into the awards that were handed out last night. Was that last night?
Yep.
So we'll get into it all. Before we do, if you're watching on X, make sure you hit like and repost the post. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you hit like and subscribe. Subscribe to Nothing But Niners. Go to 49ers Hive. Subscribe to 49ers Hive. We really appreciate the support. And drop your comments in the chat. We want to hear what you guys are thinking. Now that I got that out of the way, Mike, how you doing tonight?
I am well, man. I'm excited for tomorrow's game. I'm excited. I think I'm more excited about fellowshipping. That's like a church thing, like we call it fellowshipping. But like I'm excited to get around some people who are just interested in relaxing, right? Like knowing that I'm going to be watching the game with is an Eagles fan or a Chiefs fan. So that's, first of all, damn near impossible considering where I live. So we're doing something a little small, a little intimate thing at my pop's house. I'm sure you guys have been on with me before there in his basement with the theater screens and all that in the bar. So we're going to be over there, and I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to having a lot of fun, hanging out with some people. And I'm hoping to just see a good game, a good competitive game. The one thing I will say is that the Eagles don't usually disappoint in the Super Bowl. They might not always win, but they don't disappoint. Like, you expect the offense to come out. You expect some splash plays by the defense, but they don't usually let you down. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, man, I have like a walking pad right behind me, and I have a TV right here. And last night, NFL Network was airing 2 Super Bowls ago, the last Eagles-Chiefs match. I forgot how good of a game that was. I mean, that was probably Jalen Hurts' best game in his entire career. And it's unfortunate that the game-changing play was him fumbling the ball away and gave the Chiefs a score. But that was a really good game. Still, it was a very, very good game. Last year, obviously, the 49ers Chiefs Super Bowl was a good game as well. But for my own mental health and safety, I had to block that out of my memory. I don't even remember the score, 26-22 or something like that. But it is I don't want any games the Niners lose unless I'm like dissecting it to try and look at players. I don't watch it. I can't watch it. I don't care how good it was. Remember week 2, I think it was week 2 against the Rams this year, where Juwan Jennings went off 3 touchdowns, 180 yards, and we lose that game.
Yeah,
I can't watch it. The Vikings game, can't watch it. It's tough.
It's so interesting. When we started Nothing But Niners, I was always a rewatcher of every game, right? And then I got annoyed with rewatching games that we won because it's like I know the outcome, and because I watch everything live, like it's weird. Like it's so fresh. I know exactly what's about to happen. So I made it a focal point to watch losses more than I watch wins, to see if I could find out if it was on coaching, if it was on players or whatever. And so I will say this, I have not rewatched any of the Super Bowl losses. Like I've put them on, but I haven't watched it all the way through. Because you get to the point where you start to remember exactly what's about to happen. And it's like, all right, I'm over it now,
It's tough. It is tough. What's a weird thing too, people, I don't know. I think true football fans will agree with me. If you go to a game, I immediately want to go home if they win and watch that game on TV. I have it recorded just because it's a totally different experience watching it in person than watching it at home. We went to the Cardinals game last year where, Purdy versus Dobbs. I think it was like week 4, week 4. And Purdy balled. I think that was the game. He was like 19 for 21 or something like that. Ayuk balled out. And I remember telling Ash, we get in the car, we're sitting in traffic trying to come home. And I'm like, hey, as soon as we get home, I'm putting that game on the TV. Yeah, she's like, no, that's fine. I'm like, yeah, it's so I don't know what it is, dude. It's a totally different experience.
It's the camera angles, the replays, and you get to hear what the commentators are saying, right? So the one thing that you don't get when you're there is like you get the speculation in the crowd. It's like, oh, did that guy get hurt? Like, what's happening with him? What's going on? Then you get to go back and watch it and hear more of the details and things like that. And so it's 2 very different experiences. Both are unique and both are and can be fun. So there are times where I get in a mood where I'm like, oh, I want to go to a game really bad, right? Like, and I'm kind of itching for that now. But then I also get in the point where, like, if I've gone to 3 or 4 games in a year, like, I don't want to go to a game the next year. Like, I just want to stay home and watch them all. So So it's a good little mix up, different experiences. And I also encourage people, because I'm not this guy, go out and watch like in a sports environment. Like go to a
True.
sports bar and watch a game. That's like the third one, the third experience. Like in at the game, at home, and then like with a bunch of people. Like it's all three very different experiences.
Also, I'll throw out there watching it at like your in-laws where you have to like really tone it down. And you're like, I don't know. I've been with Ash for 10 years. And even still, if I'm at her grandparents' house and the games, first of all, she knows not to schedule anything on game day unless I give her the okay. Like the whole like last quarter of this season, I'm like, you don't have to worry about Sundays anymore. Like it's fine. We can go brunch. We can go run errands. We can go to Target. I go just throw it on my phone. It is what it is. But
Right.
if they were doing well and I wanted to see it and I was there, you got to be like, shit. Like you got to act like you don't really care because they're going to look at you like you're like some crazy, I don't know. It is funny. But by the way, the best game to this date I've ever been to, courtesy of Nothing But Niners, 2019 NFC Championship game. That was amazing. So I will forever appreciate Nothing But Niners for making that happen for us and letting Ash come. I mean, we got to meet Ali, Croc, Steve. I mean, there were all the guys there. Nick.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Mike couldn't make it.
Right. Yeah. No, I didn't go. I don't think Tony went either. Right.
I don't think so. No.
But we were well represented there at the game. So that was a good time.
It was awesome. Raheem Mostert just ran all over the Packers. The only downside is both of us, Ash and I, were like dreadfully underprepared for how cold it was going to get that night. And we were like miserable in the stands.
I went to the Packers game earlier that year. It was November, like
the Monday night game or Sunday night game.
Yeah, it was a primetime game. I took my wife and my son, right? And during the day, we're cool. Like my son didn't bring a jacket, right? I got my hoodie on. You guys know I'm like a hoodie over the jersey type of guy. And that part, right? It was late. It's November, and that nighttime weather is just way different, and it changes in like an hour. It'll drop like 10 degrees in an hour, like the wind and all that stuff. And so I felt so bad. I took my hoodie off and gave it to him. Like, I'm sorry, guys. So you do have to prepare for that over at Levi's.
Did you go to games at Candlestick? Did you ever make the trip out here?
No. So Candlesticks last year, I was supposed to go. We played the Panthers, and it was in November. And my cousin and I were supposed to go. You guys have seen my cousin Duck before. He's the Panthers fan. And my wife went into labor. So I ended up watching the game. I had my first biological child born then. So I watched the game in the hospital, and I'm holding the newborn, and I was still me. I'm a new dad. Like, hey, she's got to get used to noise, right? Like, let's go. And I'm like, oh wait, Mike, you're in a hospital though. Like, you got to calm down, bro. So it's it wasn't as bad as the in-laws thing that you're talking about, but it was definitely a different experience. So I never made it to Candlestick. I was so tight, man.
Dude,
I wanted to go out there. I wanted to purchase the seats. I don't know if you remember.
Yep.
Stadium seats.
Yep.
But they were sold in pairs. And at the time, the apartment we were living in had like a deck. So I was going to put them out there on the deck and everything. But because I didn't go, I didn't get anything. I didn't get to purchase a brick. I didn't get to purchase the seats or anything.
What you talked about with Levi's, as far as like when the evening comes, when the sun sets, that cool. It was like that on steroids at Candlestick. I mean, it would be hot. You're like just in a jersey and shorts, like from 1 p.m. to like 3 p.m. or 2 p.m. And then after the second half, midway through third quarter, fog rolls in, the sun's gone, and suddenly you can like see your breath. It was crazy. It was so crazy how cold it would get at Candlestick. Just like that. Yeah. So I don't miss that. I am glad at least Levi's is more stable, I guess you could say. It's not as much of a shock. Yeah. All right. Anyway, enough of reminiscing on great times at Niners games and stadiums. How are you feeling about this game, Mike? You said you're excited. I know a lot of fans don't feel the same way. Why are you so hyped for it?
Well, I know fans like Debo helped, spur this like we hate the Eagles thing, right? Like, and so I get it. Like we don't care about the Eagles, and then there's the Chiefs that have torched us, right? Like we know we have our history with the Chiefs, so it's like it's just a team that Kyle can't beat. So we definitely don't want to see them win either. But I'm excited I can't wait to see if they get a good Barkley game and a good Hurts game. Now, and I don't think Hurts is going to do what he did in the last Super Bowl at all, because he was running all over the place. He actually had, I think his rushing stats and scores were more impressive than his passing stats, but he did everything he could to will that team to a win. That was a phenomenal game by that young man. And I hate that, no shot at you. I hate that people put that turnover on him is the reason they lost that game. How about the defense get a damn stop?
True.
It's not like the offense wasn't sustaining drives and giving them rest, right? Like with the Niners, like in the Super Bowl losses that we've had, the offense just goes 3 and out 2 or 3 times in a row, and you can see the defense, it takes a toll on them. The Eagles weren't doing that in that game against the Chiefs. Like that's not.
Did they put up 28 points?
Who?
In that Super Bowl, the Eagles? Is that was it?
They put up 30-something. They put up 30-something points.
Oh, geez. Okay, let me pull up.
It was like, I think the final score was like 32-35 or some shit like that. I'll pull it up really quick. But they put up a ton of points. So it was
right, 38-35. If you
there you go.
Put up 35 points, that should be enough to win a game.
Yeah. Like, come on, and that was kind of my point with it all. It's like that's not on. Like, I get it. He did have a very untimely turnover, but come on, like the kid was doing everything he could in that game. Like that's one thing I don't put on him in that one.
He played very well that game. He had 3, I think, rushing touchdowns.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, 2 I think were tush push, but he played very well. He played very well. You know who else had a quietly like really good game when I was watching the game on last night? Was on the treadmill here. Dallas Goedert. I don't think like stat wise he necessarily like stuck out, but so many key catches on 3rd down, 4th down, insane ball control as you're, getting hit. You got 2 defenders, you're going down to the ground, toe tapping. Dallas Goedert played a really good Super Bowl in 2 years ago. So I'm interested to see what he brings tomorrow. I just think this is a matchup. I think a lot of fans this is like their worst case scenario, but I will caveat that with, imagine if it was the Rams instead, then you would have had to root Rams or Chiefs, like your next door neighbor rival that swept you this year, or the Chiefs,
or
it's
the other, or the other rival that has swept you every time.
Yeah.
Kyle can't beat the Chiefs.
He can't beat
him. It's like,
he either loses a quarterback to a torn ACL or loses the Super Bowl every time he plays them, apparently.
Yeah.
Well, they did lose in the regular season this year.
Yeah. So I'm all for Barkley to have a Super Bowl win and Vic Fangio. Those are the 2 guys that I'm really, really pulling for here. Yeah.
Same.
And not for nothing, I hate to say it because I really don't want it to happen, but I think it'd be cool for Hopkins to get a Super Bowl as well. Like he's a top 15 all time, maybe top 20 all time wide receiver in my eyes. Hopkins, yeah.
All time?
All time, yeah. Hopkins
maybe like all recent history. Like I would give him all top 20, like from 2000 onward. I don't know about all time.
I'm talking about him as a pure wide receiver. I'm not talking necessarily about stats, like his body control, his route running, his hands.
Got it.
Like this guy is the guy that was getting 1,000 yards no matter who his quarterback was, and he has played with some bums.
Gotcha.
Him and Mike Evans, I have so high on my overall wide receiver rankings, it's not even funny. Now you can come up with the names of names, right? Like you're not going to put him above Calvin Johnson and Jerry Rice and Terrell Owens and all that stuff, right? Yeah, you're not going to put him above those guys. But once you start running down that list, you once you get to like 10, 12, you're gonna be like, okay, he should probably come in here somewhere. Just how I feel.
You ask Mooney Ward, he would say it's thanks to the juice, because he's called him that before, Juice Boy or something like that. So who knows? There are players on the Eagles that I would be happy to see win. Barkley, you mentioned, I'd be very happy to see him. There's something about Jalen Hurts. While I respect him as a player, I just think he's like cringe on steroids. Like the dude tries so hard to talk in like motivational Instagram captions that it's hard for me to take him seriously as like a person. But I got nothing against him. I don't think he's a great quarterback.
He does some weird stuff and it's warranted. Everything you're saying is warranted. Like, the clip with his big pendant and the jewelry all blinging. He's like, that's what y'all wanted to see. And it's like, bro,
Right,
like
right.
Barkley won that game for y'all. Like what? But it was all Barkley. Like you didn't do shit that game. Like what? Is that what we wanted to see? Like what are you talking about? Like don't. That's the shit that's cringe. Like that's the stuff that makes you say like, dude, go home. Like what are you talking about?
Yep. I had a purpose before everyone had an opinion. Bro, shut the fuck up. Get your ass pushed in from a yard out. Like that's all you do, bro.
Excuse me, bitch.
Yeah, it's like, what are you talking about, man? Like, go somewhere with that shit. So yeah.
Yeah. I hereby I moved to rename the tush push to the push push. Because that's what we're all doing. We're just pushing a puss in there, man. Like it's like, don't talk to me about rushing touchdowns when your legs aren't even on the ground as you cross the goal line because you're just like getting fucking carried through the air by the 300-pound men behind you. So
do you think
maybe I do have something against Hurts now that I mentioned it, now that I'm talking about it.
It's okay. Let it come out. It's all right. Take another sip, and there you go. Take another sip, and we'll get some more of that truth, right? Like, so here's the thing with like, do you think we're going to get another threat from the officials? Like, hey, Kansas City, if you do that again, I'm going to award them a touchdown.
I don't think so.
I bet you nothing like that happens in this game.
Nothing. Plus, Spags wouldn't. I don't think he would allow that. He would probably just say, just fucking let him score. By the way, that game, the last Super Bowl. There is not a key Chiefs game that goes by without at least one controversial call. And do we all forget like the 3rd and long that they got a stop on that Darius Slay got called for a phantom? I don't know. I think it was Bradbury. Bradbury gets called for like a phantom hold on Juju Smith-Schuster. And even Greg Olson's like, I don't really like that. You know, like they've been letting them play all game long. And now with the game on the line, you want to throw a flag for holding when he barely had his hand around his hip. So we'll see. I would not be surprised to see the Chiefs benefit again from these phantom calls, these roughing the passer, these unnecessary roughness, unsportsmanlike conduct calls. We'll see. But it's also going to be interesting to see how the Chiefs kind of react because the narrative has gone. Did you see the clip of that sports reporter going around at Radio Row and literally asking Patrick Mahomes, like, hey, which referee is your favorite? Did you send any of them a Christmas card?
I did not see that.
Let me see if I can find it. But he went to Mahomes and Kelsey and asked him, like, did you send any of them a Christmas card? Like stuff like that. So it was.
I love it. And there's a bunch of really bad questions that get asked there, right? During Radio Row. Right. There's a bunch of bad questions that get asked during the week of Radio Row. And there's also some that it's like when you let the fans get a chance to go in there, this is what you're going to get. This is what you're going to get. So I'm all for it. Let's hear it. I've never seen this, so I'm excited.
Yeah.
Patrick, for your whole career, you have had so many great people help you win. So who is your favorite ref?
All the refs are great, man. All the refs are great. They do the best they can. Go out there and play the game the right way.
Is there one that you give a Christmas card to every year, possibly?
Not that I can remember. I'll have to talk to some of my teammates. Got to figure it out.
Patrick,
you can tell he's like trying to be.
Oh yeah, he didn't want to be a dick, but that one cut him. That one cut him. Like you heard the laugh right after. He's like, "There's so many people that have helped you win along the way. Who's your favorite ref?" And not for nothing, his answer was pretty good. All of them, because they all fucking help him. Yeah, so that was I believe that part, but he definitely caught him off guard. And you said that he asked Kelsey also. See, I think
the same guy. I'm trying to find it, but
if they caught Kelsey with some alcohol in the system, he might have let the guy have it. But remember when Kyle was all blasted at Radio Row like last?
Yeah.
It was such a good.
I see this clip from Travis Kelce saying if you could ask one question to the media, he would want to know why they are leaning into this whole ref conspiracy thing. Like, bro, get the fuck out of here! Look at this. Ian Sharp, Chiefs lost the penalty count once in the last 10 playoff games, and Chiefs fans will tell you, "What? We can't be the more disciplined team." We can't be the more prepared. It's like, bro, that's not the case in weeks 1 through 18. You guys lead the league in holding penalties, offensive holding, and then magically throughout the playoffs, false starts. None of those happen. Like it's too obvious to me. And I've never been that guy. Like I've never been the one to be like, this is rigged. But I feel like it's not like the refs are willing the Chiefs to win. they probably just help, hey, key third down here, incomplete pass. How would you look at that? The crown of the helmet stuck Patrick Mahomes, so that's a penalty.
Yeah.
It's 15. It's like, it's too easy. It is too easy. By the way, Chrissy says, Mike, I remember your 24-hour marathon last year. Called in my Niner cheer. I remember you did 24 hours straight.
Yeah. That was rough. And the day before the game, like, what was I thinking?
Yeah,
That was like insane. I don't know what I was thinking. I'm not doing that again.
Yeah.
Not the day before the game, at least.
yeah. I'll try and find the video of that same guy asking Kelsey, but it was good. And Kelsey's like a little fucking prick about it, so he wasn't as PR as
PC.
Mahomes. Yeah. But
That's funny.
anyway,
I mean, if you find it cool, if not, but like I said, I can just imagine how he felt. You know what I mean? Like he just that's not a question that you want to get asked in front of everybody, and now you got to answer.
Oh, here we go.
Well, you don't have to answer. I guess you could say like next question or get out of here with that.
Travis, what do you love more, Taylor Swift or phantom 15-yard roughing the passer penalties in the playoffs?
It's a good question. Anybody else?
Travis.
that's it.
That's the kind of response I expect from Travis Kelce. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So it is what it is. You just gotta. Hey, they have been chosen to be the new breadwinner of the league, and it is what it is. I knew going into last year when the Niners went into the Super Bowl, they'd have to overcome the Chiefs and the refs. And I wasn't even complaining about any of the holding. I wasn't bitching about any of the false starts because I was expecting it. And I was hoping Kyle, Wilkes, Bosa, Fred would have been expecting it too and understood what would have been required to win that game. And even though they did the best they could, it wasn't enough ultimately. So
the shoulda couldas of that game, man. I mean, I don't even want to. All right, I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it because, like, I swear to God, that game is different if we don't lose a linebacker. Yeah, if Greenlaw doesn't go down. Oh my God.
I keep seeing the sentence that cracks me up about this Super Bowl is, unfortunately, there has to be a winner, but thankfully there gets to be a loser. So luckily one of these teams will lose. So we can at least put that on our backs. I just think there's no way they don't three-peat. At least that's what the NFL wants. Did you see that the NFL struck an agreement with Pat Riley to license three-peat, since Pat Riley owns all of the trademarks for three-peat from when the Heat did it?
I knew that. Sorry. Yeah, I knew that Pat Riley had it. I didn't know that the NFL was able to make that happen.
Well, they struck an agreement with him, apparently. Wow. That's what I read. So it's like, it's kind of weird. I get maybe
talk about vested interest.
Right. David says, my concern is the ref talk and questions now the past week, especially, is only going to make Casey even more pissed off, motivated, and folks make a statement in the game to shut people up. That'd be totally fine with me. Win the fucking game fair and square. If you really think you're that good of a team, you should want to do that. I'm sorry if people pointing out that you have been completely helped over the last 3 years makes you angry.
Right.
That's not our fault. We're just telling you what happened. 31 fan bases can clearly see what's going on, and there's one that's like, you guys are just salty. Come on. Even going back to this year in the regular season, the PI on Cincinnati that allowed the Chiefs to, on 4th and long, allowed the Chiefs to get into field goal range, kick a game-winning field goal. The very next week against Atlanta on Monday Night Football, 3rd and goal, beautiful touchdown pass to Kyle Pitts. Pitts is literally tackled in the end zone before the ball gets there. No flag.
Yep.
It's like, oh, wasn't it just you just do that? Yeah, same flag a week ago, but Chiefs were on the receiving call. Now it's on the other end. There's no flag. So it's ridiculous. My whole hope is that the Chiefs three-peat, and then the NFL is finally okay, enough. We can move on to
enough of the Chiefs.
We can finally, because people are trying to say oh, but nobody cared about Tom Brady. Other teams won when Tom Brady was still in his prime. There was a 10-year gap in between Super Bowl rings for Tom Brady. So, and he still fucking finished with 7.
Speaking of Tom Brady, did you see there's a clip going around of him talking about how the losses in the Super Bowl like stuck with him more. He was like, like I was in college, we won the bowl game, okay, no big deal. I get to the NFL, we win my first Super Bowl, okay, no big deal. We win the second one, no big deal. But then that loss, like I thought that he was really, really like dropping a jewel there. And it's stuff that you kind of hope motivates
I have it here if you
young
want to
guys.
if you want to listen to it.
It's pretty long, but yeah, I mean it's
I'll
probably
play
like
a minute or two.
Yeah.
It's 4 minutes, so we'll see how much.
The movie.
I'm
No.
gonna talk.
No.
None.
I literally went wire to wire for 2 weeks. I just realized how important these games were. And I think for me, what I realized early in my career about Super Bowls was
This guy's cheekbones get more and more defined.
It's insane.
the older he gets.
it's like I went to college, we played in the Orange Bowl, I won. We went to the Citrus Bowl, we won. Okay, now I'm in the Super Bowl, we won. All right, what's the big deal? We didn't have a great season in 2002. We won in 2003. What's the big deal? We won in 2004. What's the big deal? Right? Then you go to 2007 and you lose. And then you go to 2011 and you get to the Super Bowl after having a great team in 2010 and we lose. And it was just like,
Thanks to
wow,
Eli
this
Manning.
is way harder. We went 10 years between winning. And then I said, you know what? These Super Bowl moments that I get a chance to partake in, I'm going to exhaust every bit of energy I have for this week of games. Because when you lose this game, this is on your resume forever. A loss in the Super Bowl matters more than any loss that you're ever going to be a part of. When I go in Philly and they go, Philly special, and I'm at the Knicks game with my son and Spike Lee, I throw him a ball and he puts the ball and he catches it on his head like the helmet catch. I mean, that was 17 years ago and I'm still living that thing down.
You can stop it now. But yeah. And then they have like this fake commercial. Did you see the commercial, him and Nick Foles?
No.
Oh man, if you find that really quick, and then I won't ask for any more clips. But there's a commercial with him and Nick Foles. So like this kid is like talking to Tom Brady. He's like, "Oh, what's going on? Like, you got any words? Whatever." It's like, "Well, my brother said something different." He's like, "Wait, who's your brother? You got it?"
Yeah, I think so.
I thought this was hilarious. I think that this is how you take that. Like Tom, I'm not saying he's scarred from it, but obviously that loss is a moment for him, right? So now you got to spin it. Yeah, this is it. This is so cool. This is good.
Hey, Tom, I've got Mikey, the winner of the Noble contest. You want to take that now?
Yeah.
So here we go.
What's up, Mikey?
Whoa, Tom Brady?
I hear you're a quarterback. Did you have a good season?
We won the title. My uncle gave us a special play in the fourth quarter. I think he actually played with you a long time ago.
Wait, who's your uncle? What play?
Here he is.
Hey, Tom.
Bowls?
You know the play. The one I caught and you didn't. The Philly special.
All right, kid, you want some advice? Just try not to choke.
Everything's a roll of the dice. Sometimes you throw for 500 yards in the biggest game of your life and you still lose.
Luck is a very real thing.
Just ask your uncle.
I think we're cool, right?
Wait. I didn't even.
And that's why we practice catching, Mikey. That's why we practice catching.
The Philly special sounds so much cooler than the tush push.
I didn't even get to show him my Noble gear.
Was he eating a cheese steak?
That's good. That's a good one.
I thought that was a genius commercial. I like advertising. That's what I wanted to go to school for, marketing and advertising. So I like good advertising that you can like make relatable. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah. I like that. Yeah, I don't know. I see the chat saying, if KC wins, then it's going to be about, making sure they're better than the NFL is going to make sure they're better than Brady and the Patriots. Who knows, man? I think all fans want is an even playing field. That's it. Like, please just don't be beneficial to anyone.
Well, that was kind of like what set the NFL apart from other like sports, which I'll come back to that later, was the parity, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like you had a really bad year, so you're going to get the best draft picks the following year and improve your team, right? So you kind of
look at the Commanders.
Right. Like, so you get to improve significantly more if you have a bad year, right? Like, that's kind of what made the NFL special. Well, it's kind of not happening anymore. And it's still not to the point with the NBA where these players are just like forming super teams and dominating that way. But it does start to feel like this is more of an entertainment and not a sport thing. Like it's leaning more towards WWE than it is sports. Like it's
Well,
and I don't think we want that.
I already know what the chat would say is that, they're legally registered as an entertainment business, not a sports business. So they're not legally required to not alter outcomes or influence outcomes in any way. And in that sense, it is closer to the WWE than, say, the NBA or MLB or hockey, these other sports, in that they're not registered as a sports business, they're registered as entertainment. So the NFL wants to do what's best for the NFL.
Do you know when that happened?
I don't know.
It was 2003.
What was the catalyst?
They launched the NFL Network.
Oh.
So that came with the whole sports entertainment thing, as opposed to being just registered as a sport.
Interesting.
So, wait a second. So the NFL became sports entertainment either June 24th, 1922, the day they adopted, or so. All right. So there's some differences of opinions on this here. People are saying that it was the 2003. Some people say it's always been registered that way. I don't think that's when it. Let's see, the sports entertainment business since the 1930s. Maybe it is older than I thought. Then all right. So then never mind. I digress.
Either way, legally, they are an entertainment business, not a sports company. So I don't know.
Yeah.
It's interesting to see, but let's get back to the Super Bowl, Mike. We got a little tangent there. What are you looking to see tomorrow? We talked about Barkley. We talked about Hurts. Maybe from the Chiefs side, what intrigues you the most about this matchup from Kansas City?
I want to see how Kansas City is going to run the ball. I know that that's not going to be their main focus. Their passing game is kind of New Orleans Saints is where they use the passing game, the short passes as like an extension of the run almost. You think back to when Drew Brees was with New Orleans. So I want to see if they're going to be able to actually run the ball well, and that's because I hope that they could eat some clock up, make the game a little bit shorter, less passes. I honestly believe that Patrick Mahomes is still one of the players that puts the ball in harm's way more than the average quarterback. And so maybe they want to kind of get away from that, because with the Eagles' ability to score so quickly, even on a run play, right?
True.
If you didn't think that was the case through the regular season, you definitely have to believe that's the case now in the postseason. Like Barkley just will take a ball 76 yards, 82 yards, to the house at any given moment, right? So they're going to have to I think they're going to try to change up their game plan, their plan of attack offensively. I want to see them use those guys out there. They got Hunt back, right? And then there's Isaiah Pacheco as well. I want to see those guys really have a role here. Just ball control the clock, a couple of safe passes, and then the occasional shot or two down the field. What I don't want to do is see this, every time they throw the ball deep, here comes a flag and it's illegal contact or someone hurt or someone hit Mahomes or I just don't want it to come down to that. I want to see the Chiefs running the ball. We have to remember that these are two really good defenses going against each other. I don't think this is going to be a 35-38 event by any stretch of the imagination. I'd be surprised if any one of those teams scored 30 points in this game. Not to say that they won't get close. I could see 27-28 for the winner, right? Something like that, 28 points for the winner. But I don't think it's going to be easy for either team to score in this one. Spags is always well prepared, and Vic Fangio is one of the best as well. So two really good defensive coordinators going at it. And I think the only way that you're going to really take the top off of this thing is if you can have a successful run game all game long, not just the first half. You're going to have to do it consistently all four quarters.
Yeah. So I think when you look at this team, offense versus defense, Eagles to Chiefs, and then Chiefs offense versus the Eagles defense, what stands out to me is kind of the Eagles pedestrian passing offense. I don't really know what's going on because during the season they looked good. There were times where Jalen Hurts looked good. He throws a great deep ball, and then not really much else. There are a couple plays where we've seen him drop back and actually have to go through his reads and whatnot. It doesn't look. He doesn't look comfortable doing that. You know what I mean? He wants to get the ball out on his first read, or he wants to throw it deep. Spags, I think, is really going to challenge Jalen Hurts and is it Kellen Moore, the OC for the Eagles, to come up with a passing plan that allows them to not rely on Saquon Barkley having like 35 touches tomorrow night or tomorrow evening, which it could be a rest. If you tell me right now Saquon has over 34 and a half rushing attempts, I'm like 50-50 on whether or not they win that game, because maybe that means that they're doing so well they can handle the ball, but that also means they can't get shit done in the passing offense, and they're just trying to force feed Barkley, and it's not working. The Chiefs' defense historically has been stout against the run. I mean, the 49ers had the best running back in the league last year in Christian McCaffrey, and he had a hard time getting the ball. I mean, we're talking 2 to 3 yard chunks at a time. There was no big run. You could argue Barkley this year is better than McCaffrey last year, and maybe that is true. I don't know. I think the biggest
offensive line.
Yes, the biggest catalyst is the Eagles' offensive line. If Brock Purdy had that offensive line last year, he's like dicing them up for 300 yards, 3 touchdowns. And that's what I think is the most frustrating when it comes to watching Jalen Hurts is like, are you kidding me? It's like having like a team of world star, chefs, and you want a PB&J. It's like, brother, you're sitting back there for 5 to 7 seconds and you take the check down, or you run it out of bounds, or you throw it in. It's like, it's so frustrating to see so little come out of that. But there is somebody that has taken advantage of that situation, and that is Saquon Barkley, who just comes in from New York, is just having a monster season. And he had a monster championship game, or a divisional game, I should say, against the Rams. He busted off like 2, 80-yard rushes. Same against championship game against the Commanders. He had a great game as well. So I'm interested to see how the Chiefs and Spags adjust to handling a running threat in Jalen Hurts, but also this year's top running back in Saquon Barkley. I talked about Dallas Goedert a couple, 20, 30 minutes ago in the last Super Bowl they played. I think he's an X factor as well, but now the Chiefs have Xavier Worthy, somebody who could take the top off. We've seen Andy Reid get him involved in the running game, and I think he's becoming, at this point, a little bit more than just a deep threat, and maybe his route tree is a little more developed. They're using him in more ways than one. I don't see how the Chiefs don't come away with the dub. Like, honestly, we'll save the predictions for later, but I just don't see. I don't know. I feel like in order for the Eagles to win this game, they would have needed a Josh Allen at quarterback, a Joe Burrow, even a Matthew, like a Stafford, like a top elite talent. And I just don't think Hurts is that. And I think that is like the biggest glaring, shiniest red spot when we're looking at both teams on paper. What is the weakness? You got Patrick Mahomes, and then you got Jalen Hurts. And nothing against Jalen Hurts, but he's not there.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I don't know if Hurts needs to be that in this game. You just talked about the offensive line and Barkley. Like, don't forget that the Eagles started 2-2, right? And then they just went crazy. Like, they finished the season
12
with
of the last 13.
One more loss. Right. They lost one more game, which, by the way, was to Washington at the end, right? But my point is, it took him a while to know his offensive line. Now that he knows it, there's no need to change it up. You talk about the chefs, right? Like, if you know what their specialty is, you keep doing that. And Hurts, you just need to go out there and be efficient. You don't have to throw for 300 yards like you did the last time you guys played them. You know what I mean? You still have Devontae Adams. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm sorry, Devontae Smith. Adams, look at me. You have Smith over there. You got Brown over there. You still have guys that are going to be dependable when you throw them the ball, right? Just make sure that when you do, you're accurate, right? Just be accurate. And I think he can do that in this game. That offensive line is going to open up holes for Barkley. It's going to buy some time for Hurts, right?
Okay.
Just go ahead.
Can I ask you a question? If I tell you tomorrow Jalen Hurts' stats are 14 of 23, 182 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, and 1 rushing touchdown, do they win that game?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
I don't think so.
Absolutely. If he gets a passing touchdown and a rushing touchdown, this game is over. This game is over. If he can throw for a touchdown and run for a touchdown, this game is over. Yes. And maybe that's the emotional, like, I hate the Chiefs type of thing, right? Maybe that's what that is. But that means that, first of all, if he's not throwing the ball 30 times, they're not stopping the run. Right? So on offense, you're going to get about 60 to 70 offensive plays. You're going to get 60 to 70 offensive plays, right? So if he's only throwing the ball 24, 25 times, that means that you're running the ball at a decent clip. That's success. To me, that says success. So I think, go ahead.
Let me read out Jalen Hurts' passing attempts this entire season. Week 1, 34. Week 2,
go ahead.
30. Week 3, 38. Week 4, 30.
Stop. Now, before you go, I wanted to remind you, that's when they went 2-2.
Yes.
And I said Barkley had to learn the offensive line.
Very good point.
Okay.
But
here we go.
Week 5, 25. Week 6, 14. He was 10 of 14 versus the Giants. Week 7, 20. Week 8, 24. Week 9, 20. Week 10, 28. Week 11, 22. Week 12, 19. Week 13. Did he miss games? Am I missing
he went out against the Washington, but there was also a bye. Don't forget about the bye. So that's probably why he skipped weeks.
Okay. But after week 4, so let me go back here.
The 30s go away.
1, 2, 3, 4. There's only one game in the final 14 weeks, 13 games that he threw for over 30 pass attempts.
Yeah.
I just think that more is going to be needed of him to win this game. I think the Chiefs defense is that good against the run, even against a guy like Barkley, that they're going to need a prime Jalen Hurts, like what we saw 2 years ago. If you give me that Jalen Hurts, I'd be a lot more comfortable picking the Eagles, because we saw DeAndre Swift. The guy's like, I'm not gonna say that. He's got the mind of a the mind of a toddler. It's like it doesn't. I don't understand his thought process, man. DeAndre Swift would have had the ball with blockers in front of him and a wide open lane, and the dude would decide to cut it back inside
the other way.
and tackle for a 2-yard gain instead of like a 40-yard touchdown. So that Jalen Hurts could have won that game if he had better talent at the running back. He does have that, but now it's almost like they did the Uno reverse card on us. Now Jalen Hurts is kind of getting carried and kind of been what's slowing down the offense, and the running back is running things. So it'll be interesting, man. I don't know.
So let me ask
sold.
this question then. Let me ask you this question, because I understand and I acknowledge I see what you're saying here. Do you think the Chiefs are putting up 25 points in this game?
That's probably right around where I would say they score.
Right.
Over under 24.5, I would put it out.
So if you're telling me that if you're because we got to remember that the Eagles have a good. Where do they finish? They finished first, right? Didn't they have the number one defense this year, right? So
shout out to Zach Vaughn.
So with that said, if you're telling me that Hurts is going to account for 14 points, you don't think Barkley is going to get in the end zone twice? That's 28. Like I'm just
twice.
saying that,
I don't know about twice. I'd give him one.
Really?
I'd give him one.
Okay. I cannot wait. This is good. And this is what makes it fun though, right? It's like we don't have a vested interest. And our emotions are negatively the same for both teams. So it's like we hate them both just as much, right? So it's like screw them both. That kind of makes it like a wash. Like now we can really just sit back and really talk about how this thing is going to play out. The Chiefs, everyone's been saying it is the most vulnerable they've been. We said it last year. We're saying it again this year. But now they're going up against a really good offensive line. Again, the best running back in the league. 2 years in a row having to face the best running back in the Super Bowl is kind of crazy, right? But and then you have like the number one defense. Our defense wasn't all there last year. Our defense, it was there when it was there, and then as soon as it wasn't, right? They have that there. They have it now, and they are going to be sound against the run. They're going to play smart, assignment-type football. Vic Fangio is going to have his guys prepared, and he's going to have the depth prepared. That's one thing that I do miss about Vic Fangio is that when someone did go down in his defenses while he was here under Jim Harbaugh, the next man up was okay.
Speaking of that, Oren Burks is suddenly a fucking good linebacker. Oren Burks is suddenly a guy that can come in on a moment's notice and play at a relatively high level. This dude was asked for us when Greenlaw went down. This dude lost us the Super Bowl. They just picked on his ass. Fucking Patrick Mahomes says 48. You know, Tom Brady used to have fine 20 on every play for Ed Reed. That was Patrick Mahomes with Oren Burks. Find 48 on every play. That's where I'm going with this ball. All of a sudden, he goes to Philly, and maybe this is a testament to Vic Fangio and a knock on Steve Wilks, but he goes to Philly, and the dude looks like he's relatively good linebacker, a guy that could start for other teams. It was like Azeez Al-Shaair here. Like, oh, he's like our third option. He's good. Where was that? Where was that where the 49ers needed him? It's so frustrating. Yeah, Ian Sharp, he learned to tackle. He learned how to pass coverage. Like again, that's a testament to the Eagles coaching staff and a knock on the Niners. But boy, is that frustrating to see, because when all the chips were on the table and the Niners just needed this dude to be a sound linebacker and play against alongside Fred Warner, he couldn't do that. He was a huge liability. So here's
the difference. Here's the biggest difference with the coaching staff is, right? When Greenlaw's not in, we see Fred Warner all the time overcompensating.
Yes.
Right? He can't just key off and go the way he wants to. He has to always look before he goes, right? So he wants to go this way, but before he can bite, he's got to look to make sure that guy is there. That half a second of hesitancy is all it takes for a big play in the NFL. And so when that happens, this is why I said Fangio will have even the depth prepared, because Fangio is going to go out there, you guys, that Belichick quote, do your job. Don't worry about if that guy's out of place, that's on him. Worry about what your assignment is here, and that's what Vic Fangio drives home so well everywhere he's gone. Everywhere he's gone. Even when he was in Denver, I think he was a little in over his head as a head coach. So let me be clear. I'm not saying that he was great over there. I'm not saying that they had great defenses, but there were games and they played the Chiefs tough when he was over there. So I think that you gotta coach that knows Patrick Mahomes pretty well. A defensive coordinator, I should say, that knows Patrick Mahomes pretty well and the tendencies of Andy Reid now. He's got that experience. I think this is all the stars are aligning. I do.
I don't know, man. I'm interested to see how this plays out. That is a good point, because previously, although they got hired to head coaching gigs after the Super Bowl loss in Jonathan Gannon and Shane Steichen, you could argue Vic Fangio and Kellen Moore are like a level above them as far as coordinators. This is like a totally retooled and upgraded Eagles team with, I'll say it, a downgraded Jalen Hurts. Like I hate to be the guy that's like constantly knocking it, but if you compare 2022 to 2024, it's like night and day difference. This player does not look the same. He doesn't look as comfortable. He doesn't look healthy. Maybe that's it. I know he had a couple of injuries this year. He doesn't look like he's fully healthy. But it's just not as smooth as it was in 2020. In 2022, he was like a legit top quarterback. I don't really see that this year.
But I think that there's good and bad to it. I talk to a lot of Eagles fans. My buddy, my guy Glenn, we work together, and he is a avid Hurts hater. He just thinks Hurts is just the most worthless quarterback. He's an Eagles fan, yeah. He thinks that Hurts is the most worthless quarterback out there. But once you can identify your quarterback's strengths and weaknesses, you just got to play to them. Don't ask them to do more than what they're actually good at. You know what I'm saying? And so if that's going to be half field reads and then you scramble the opposite way, let me send 3 wide receivers to the left side of the field. And if you don't like what you see, you run to the right because the defense is all on the left side, then you work with that. And I think Kellen has done a good job of that and in protecting Hurts. And you're going to lean on your run game. You're going to lean on your run game. You're going to lean on your defense. And you just got to go out there and this is a game that a game manager can go out there and win, honestly, because I don't buy into the Chiefs offense. I'm not a believer in that Chiefs offense. I'm sorry. How many games this year did the Chiefs score more than 30 points?
Did they at all?
I'm going to set the over-under, and we can include postseason for this. I'm going to set the over-under at 2.5.
I don't think they did at all.
Really?
Maybe in the Bills game, but I remember it being in that game and them saying, or maybe they did it against us. Did they do it against the Niners?
Let's see. Here, I got their thing here. They got 30 against the Panthers. Hold on. Let me go to the top here. So it starts as preseason. All right, here we go. 27, 26, 22, 17, 26, 28. That's the Niners. So, no, they didn't get 30 against us. 27. All right, boom. 30 for the Buccaneers. 16, 21 against the Bills. 30 against the Panthers. 19, 19, 21, 27, 29, 0. Wow, they got shut out this year?
Against the Broncos, right? At the end of the year?
Yeah,
No.
holy
Yeah.
smokes, yeah.
They did. They had all their stars.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's right. Everyone was chilling. Okay.
And they lost that game, so the Bengals, well, coincidentally, the Bengals wouldn't get in the playoffs. So
yeah. And then 32 against the Bills last week. So
twice.
Or 2 weeks ago. Twice. That's it. They scored 30 on the head twice and then over 30 once. I mean, this offense is not the same. And I understand what you're saying about Worthy kind of coming into his own and all that stuff, and I get that. But it takes a lot for them to do it. So there is something that I want to talk about. The Niners. You go ahead and go do that.
All
the
right,
Niners.
I'll be right back.
Yep. The Niners. I believe it was Al Guido was just recently talking about some of the Super Bowl. You guys know, or maybe you don't know, the Super Bowl is going to be in Santa Clara next year. The Niners are hosting the Super Bowl next year. And so I saw this little interview with him talking about how the team is going to they've put $250 million into the building since it's been constructed, and he's going to do this thing with, like, we're going to have the biggest or the most square footage for the big boards or something like that. Let me see if I could find. I'm going to see if I can find it. But I thought that was interesting. Hearing Al Guido talk about the boards, and let me see. Here we go. Yep, this is the link here. I'm going to send this to Zach so he can put this in the chat here. But this is interesting, and what I wanted to ask people was, if you had $250 million to improve the 49ers' current stadium, what would it be? And before everyone starts talking about shade for the summer games and all that stuff, we have to remember that they are in the flight path, and so the height of the building is affected by that naturally. So it's going to be really tough for them to add shade. I understand all that. And that could still be the biggest desire for everybody out there. That's cool. I accept it. But what else would you guys want the Niners to do to improve the in-game experience? A retractable roof. I see that there by Ghost. I can't click the comments and put them up there, but Ghost. And like I said, I get it. Right? So, like, kind of dome it. I don't know if they're allowed to. I don't know. I do know that I believe that they're supposed to be, like, that amusement park parking lot and all that stuff is supposed to be getting pushed out and all that. So there should be some changes. But I sent it in WhatsApp, Zach, the Al Guido talking about the $250 million of updates. My question is, what would you, if you knew that the Niners had $250 million to improve the in-game experience, what would you do? Do you think this is worth it? So let's see what he says here.
Shout out to the SF Niners for the video.
Yeah.
You guys are making some updates to Levi's Stadium. What are some of the fans going to be able to expect when we get ready to show up for the Super Bowl at Levi's?
Well, you're gonna start first with like big TVs. So if you drive by Levi Stadium now, you'll see the entire scoreboards are gone. So
are they?
They're all gone. And so
it's already started.
It's already started.
Okay.
So all the digital footprint of the building is completely changed. And so when you walk back in next year, it'll be the largest square footage of video boards in the entire National Football League. So very, very different. You're going to see a bunch of new fan experience within the concession stands, the plazas, the parking lots. I give the York family a lot of credit, and this is on behalf of our fans. We've invested $250 million into that building since the day we opened to continue to enhance that fan experience. For all the Niners fans, we weren't perfect in year one. It's hard to open a venue. I thank you very much for your patience. We have made that a home field advantage. And just keep telling us where we got to get better. But for the good news, the Super Bowl people will see it, but our fans will actually see it first. When they walk in August, all of those changes will be there.
well, you don't get a Super Bowl unless that happens, right? So
Right.
you need a great venue to be able to host. And then for us, we're lucky. We just get to be tenants
All right.
for a huge game.
Look at you. All
So-
right.
Because it's just
Enough of the riffraff.
so he says square footage for the scoreboards, right? And at first I'm like, wait a minute, because I've been there. There's no big board in the middle, like with Jerry's World and the Rams and all that. So what he's talking about? But he's talking about the end zone
Right.
screens. Maybe there's going to be some on the sides also. Maybe I don't know. Big deal or no big deal? Honestly, what do you think about that? Because I can say, and I don't know if they still do it or not. That gold mine section, give me a better screen to look at. So I kind of get it.
Yeah. Meh deal. I don't know. If they were told me they were investing $250 million, I would say, could you get me out in 20 minutes at least? Like when I'm leaving, do I still have to sit in like 3 hours of traffic to get onto the freeway? That's like half a mile. I understand it's not all their fault, but it's like, I don't know, big TVs. Is that? I thought
Is Great Adventures shut down officially? Like, wasn't
America?
something supposed to be Great America? I'm sorry. Isn't something supposed to be like going away?
I don't know if it's officially shut down. It might be officially shut down, but either way, it's like barely open at the same time as that. So why do you think that might help?
Well, spacing, right? I don't know what's happening out there, so I don't want to, speak, on something that I don't know about. But I just feel like they should, and we know part of the $250 million was the Wi-Fi. I don't know if you remember, they made a big deal of it a couple of years ago that we've enhanced and we've added signal boosters for the Wi-Fi in the stadium.
Right,
Everyone's reception was really bad, so they did that. I think that was like 3 years ago. I think they did that. And I can say that from my first time there to my last time there, I did notice a difference with the signal. It still wasn't the best. It'll tell you have full reception, but the signal was still a little choppy, for people trying to go live at halftime and things like that. But aside from that, you have that. You have the boards now. And they said retractable roofs, which I just don't think that they're allowed to do because of the flight.
Yep.
The flight path and patterns and all that stuff. So they're not allowed to do that. But what other kind of improvements? And I like that one, right? Getting in and out. I think 20 minutes is. When you say get out, are you talking about out of the stadium or out of the parking lot?
Out of the parking lot. There's 12 different parking lots. It's not like there's one parking lot. You got to walk a mile if you're parking in any of the other non-blue lot 1, 2, or 3. And then by the time you get there, you still got to sit in your car for another hour just to get out of said parking lot. So, and then on top of all of that, they have traffic flows going only one way. Like, I understand that's not Levi Stadium's fault. It's not. It's the city's fault because that's how they want to run things. But I just feel like the fan experience, me going to a game, is frustrating. Like, game aside, football aside, like the actual intent or details and intangibles of me physically going there, it's a pain in the ass. Like, nobody wants to deal with that.
I think I've been to Levi's 5 times, maybe more. But every time I go, I don't think I've ever driven. That's not true. When I took my wife and my son that November, that Packers game we were talking about earlier, I parked in a garage. So I did drive that time. But I've walked multiple times. I've tried to Uber, and the city just shuts down. They won't let anybody in close to it. So you walk 2 miles to a hotel, and then the guy still can't get to me. So I was like, you know what? I canceled it and ended up walking all the way back. And that took me 2 or 3 hours.
Even though they have an Uber zone, right? Like, even though there's literally a designated Uber zone. Yeah.
Right. But they won't let people in when the game is over. So what's the purpose of the Uber zone then? Like, so the city, again, like you said, that's not really on them. That's more on the city. But the game experience, how did you improve that if you knew that there was $250 million that they were putting into it? How do you improve the game experience? I heard about the whole, you can now order your food from the app and they bring it to you. Right. I don't know a single person that's taken advantage of that yet. Can you tell me how that is? What does that do?
I assume you get the Levi Stadium app on your phone and you're able to buy food, and they have your seat numbers and they bring it to you once it's ready. But I don't know. I've never used it. That would be nice. I don't know.
Can you put this comment up from Bouse the Gamer?
This is a 49ers channel, and they've talked about the Super Bowl more than Niners. They've been live for an hour. Crazy. Do you see the title of this stream, brother?
Like Bouse, like come on, bro. Like
we'll
seriously.
talk about the Niners game tomorrow. How about that, Mike? Let's talk about the matchup for the Niners.
Yeah. The couch versus the sofa. Like what? Come on, bro. Like, and we're getting to it. We haven't talked about the new defensive coordinator yet. Like, I mean, the new defensive assistant yet. Yep. Like, we're gonna get there, buddy. Like, but it would be silly for anybody to do a show this week and not talk about the biggest game of the year in all sports. Like, oh, so we're just gonna ignore. Like, come on, Bouse. Like, come on, man. That's a wild thing to type in there. Like, come on.
By the way, I think Rudy hit the nail on the head here. They gave away their true intention at the end of the clip. It wasn't about the fans at all. It was about attracting a Super Bowl. I would bet, money that this was part of the agreement that they gave to the NFL in order to attract a Super Bowl here. We'll get bigger TV screens. We'll get the biggest in the NFL. And if you give us the Super Bowl, we'll implement those plans immediately and start getting those set up. And the NFL said, fine, we'll award you the 2026 Super Bowl contingent on you doing XYZ, which included larger screens. Because like you said, Mike, there is no center screen to watch.
Yeah.
If you're on the side, you got to turn to one side or the other. Mm-hmm. If you're on one side, then you're kind of, squinting your eyes trying to see it on the other side.
Peering all the way across.
Yeah. There's no real center screen. So
I'm trying to think of how many stadiums I've been to that don't have the center screen. Now that you say, I'm trying to think of.
I mean, I assume they have to be indoor to have one, right?
Well, yeah, it has to have some kind of dome or retractable roof for sure, because otherwise, what are you attaching it to? You know what I'm saying? So that there's that part. That's part of it. I think that the Niners. Let me start by saying this: the Super Bowl is cool. It's a good caveat and a great boost for the city.
Second one here at Levi's, by the way.
Right, but I don't think the Niners are hard up for events to do in that stadium every single year. In fact, I can't tell you how many season ticket holders and what are the light seat licenses people? What is it called? Not PDLs. What was it?
PSL? I don't know.
PSLs, yes. Yeah. I can't tell you how many of those people I've heard from personally, and they tell me, like, there's always some event. There's always some event. There's always something going on. Concerts and soccer matches, WWE, and they host the only thing I haven't seen done at Levi's, which I'm surprised about, is a boxing event. But again, it's because they can't protect from the weather. They can't guarantee anything. And so that's kind of going to knock them out of that. But you see that kind of stuff happening in Dallas and all that, like a couple different football stadiums do get a chance to host boxing events. And I only know that because I'm a big boxing fan. So I know that we haven't done that. But Beyonce's been there. Taylor Swift has been there. Like
Paul McCartney's been there.
Right.
Yeah.
The who's of performers have been there. And so I don't think that they were hard up. Like, I don't think they needed the Super Bowl to really give a boost to the economy, right? Like, they host plenty of events all year long over there. So I don't think that's necessarily the thing. But I do think that there's something about getting the Super Bowl there. And maybe, just maybe, if we're talking about this being an entertainment thing, maybe this will help the Niners next season. Maybe this will play into like, hey, we can't shit on these people because these are going to be the fans that are going to pack the stadium during the actual game. So
no team had won the Super Bowl in their home stadium prior to the Rams or the Bucks, right? The Bucks and then the Rams.
Yeah.
And then it happened 2 years in a row. So or was it 2 years in a row? Maybe it wasn't 2 years in a row. But I think it was 2 years in a row, right? Yeah, because Brady
was
only
Rams back to back?
Yeah, because Brady was with the Bucks 2 years. So he won it the first year, and then the second year the Rams did. So it could happen. It definitely could happen. Damn, I had something on my mind I was about to say. I forgot. I was going to say, on top of all of this too, the city of Santa Clara and the Niners are kind of beefing. I don't know if you've seen all the reports coming out that the city's like accusing the team of not paying all this money that they were supposed to be paying and these taxes and this revenue that they promised when they brought the stadium here that they haven't seen. And the city saying, we have no idea what you're talking about. We're paying everything we agreed to pay. So there's like this weird beef going on with the city and the team that I'm interested to seeing how all of that is going to play out when the biggest event of the year is going to be here next year. So I don't know. Hopefully everything's squashed by then. But I remember seeing a lot of reports about that in the news going back the last couple of years. I don't know if the chat has any updates. I haven't followed it too closely, but I remember reading it when it happened and thinking, damn, that's crazy. But
it's so strange. Like why not? You know, like what? That's don't get shut down in your own city, bro. Like
right.
We'll be playing in Arizona for the next.
Well, that's kind of why, you know, that led it to going that. Okay, so this is, let me pull this up. This is from the city's own website. Let me see.
Here we go.
The city of Santa Clara is providing public information for the public status of litigation involving the Santa Clara Stadium Authority in order to provide the public with accurate information about the various disputes with the San Francisco 49ers organization involving Levi's Stadium. For background on the cases, view the most recent comprehensive update and report Stadium Authority provided September 29, 2020. So, informational flyer. They're claiming shared public expenses, public safety cap, procurement ordinance amendment, buffet cost, facility rent reset. 49ers seek to prevent access to documents and financial records. 49ers seek to stop the termination of the management agreement. 49ers sued the city to recover more than $1 million from the city's general fund for erroneously paid fees for parking use of the golf course. I mean, this is a 19-page, you know, PDF.
This is going back and forth. So the city's upset, and the Niners are countersuing and suing, and winning some of these things.
Yeah.
You said it was over $1 million, right? That the Niners won from the litigation. So
49ers goal, hide spending, spend public money outside the approved budget, subsidize NFL operations with stadium authority revenue, hide records of their financial management, hide failure to pay prevailing wage, hide self-dealing. City and SA goals, not pay public funds that are not due to the 49ers, restore public trust in how the publicly owned stadium is being managed, ensure public funds have been expanded properly and legally, protect blue-collar workers at Levi's Stadium, ensure the debt can be repaid, and the city's general fund receives what it is due. So I'm telling you, it's like a whole beef going on here. So
wow,
it's something to monitor. Because that's kind of not exactly, but it's similar to what happened and why they got, you know, why they left San Francisco to begin with, because their relationship soured. San Francisco wasn't willing to give them any sort of tax break when it came to building a new stadium. Meanwhile, Santa Clara was sitting here like, yo, if you want to bring that revenue over here, we'll happily give you a tax break. So the Niners took advantage of that. And now the city of Santa Clara is saying, where's all that revenue? We were supposed to be getting this, this, and this. I don't know. It's just something that came up when we're talking about this in my mind. So something to keep an eye on. But if you want to check it out, you can go to the City of Santa Clara's website. I'm sure they have it all on there. That's what I just pulled this from. So let's get into Gus Bradley, Mike. Is there anything else in the Super Bowl you want to talk about before we go to Niners?
Just for Bouse. No, I'm kidding. We're going to save the Super Bowl predictions at the very end.
Okay.
We'll save it for the very end, just because I do want to see if Matt's going to come in. I know he got off work just about 15, 20 minutes ago. So we'll see if he makes an appearance, and we'll save the Super Bowl thing for the very end of the show. But we do have other things to talk about.
Got it. So like I said, and we said to start the show, the 49ers hired Gus Bradley, who you may remember from Seattle. You may remember from Indianapolis. Was he in Atlanta? Maybe he was in Atlanta too. With the Raiders. I don't think he was in Atlanta, actually, with the Chargers. But Gus Bradley, if I remember correctly, and correct me if I'm wrong, was kind of like the whole architect of the Seattle defense that Kyle Shanahan is so fascinated of. Is that correct?
Yes.
Was he in Seattle?
That's correct.
Okay. And I assume Robert Saleh worked with Gus Bradley in Seattle. So there's going to be this kind of continuation, I guess you could say, of that here in San Francisco with the Niners. Robert Saleh. You got Robert Saleh. You got Robert Saleh bringing his special teams coordinator from the Jets back with him. This is great. I think this is a great hire. There were rumors that the Niners wanted to hire Gus Bradley as their defensive coordinator. I know a lot of fans were against that, saying he's not the best defensive coordinator. I'm happy they hired him just as a staff, advisor. What's your take on this hire, Mike?
Yeah. So, not to say a bunch of stuff that I said already. I want to start by saying I'm glad he's not the defensive coordinator.
Yes.
Right. I like some youth. I like that Robert Saleh had a chance to go and do his own thing. But but I do think that this is a very good complement between the two, right? So you have the innovator, so to speak, right? You got Pete Carroll, who was doing some of that over here. Then he goes to Seattle as a head coach, and he brings in Gus Bradley and all that stuff, and they kind of redefine and all that stuff. And you got the Legion of Boom and all that stuff, and it comes out of there. But then if you go to fast forward to last season, there were not a lot of Colts fans that were happy with Gus Bradley. Now, he did manage to survive a coaching change over there from Reich to what's the guy's name? Steichen?
Shane Steichen, yeah.
Steichen and Reich. He did survive that transition. So he had to have been doing something right, or at least had enough respect in the building to maintain a job for another season. But then Black Monday comes, they let him go. Every Colts fan video that I went back and watched, they just said that it was predictable. They said it didn't matter if things were working or not. He wasn't going to change what he was doing, how he was covering people. He wouldn't, it's like, so, and tell me if that sounds familiar, right? Like, but I felt like we had those complaints about the offense this year. Like, Kyle, like, get out of what you're doing. It's not working. Change some shit up, right? But I do think that Robert Saleh having someone in the building that he respects to bounce ideas off of is going to really, really provide clarity, for a lack of a better term. It's gonna provide some clarity with the defense and how they see things. Another set of eyes. When you can't be in every room, this guy can be in there, and you respect everything that he's going to say. Right? Doesn't mean that you're going to listen to everything. It's not like, oh, you're going to override me or anything like that. I don't think anybody's overriding Robert Saleh in this building, including Kyle Shanahan. Let me be very clear. I think Kyle Shanahan is completely washing his hands of the defense. Yeah. Yep. This is basically two head coaches coming in here to do their thing in their specialty and run it up. So I'm excited about that. Gus Bradley is just the best. Like, you got Sorensen and you say, hey, Sorensen, we want you to run this defense that we've been running. What's your defensive background? Question mark. Right? But don't worry, we're going to bring another guy in who's defensive oriented in Staley, but he doesn't do what we want him to do. So you got to show him the way while still coaching and maintaining. And like, it was the biggest head scratcher in the to me, the Kyle Shanahan regime. Like that hire annoyed me more than the Steve Wilks hire. And you knew how I felt about the Steve Wilks hire from the day it happened. Right? So the Sorensen thing was even worse, in my opinion, than the Steve Wilks thing. And it looked like it played out that way. Right? This one is the exact opposite. This is knocking it out of the park. If Kyle's going to be stubborn and insist on having this specific defense run here, then you go back and get the guys who do it. This is how you do it. And now what we'll find out is if this is not it, Kyle's going to know, all right, it's time for a defensive scheme change now. Now it's not about this guy didn't know how to do it and that guy didn't know how to do it. Now it's, okay, this scheme needs to be revamped. We need to be a little bit more exotic with some of the stuff that we're doing here. So I think this is a huge compliment to the team. This to me, the Niners are knocking this offseason out of the park as far as the coaching staff hires.
And not to be kind of crass and blunt, but the fires as well. Nick Sorensen let go. Brandon Staley let go. We were sitting here thinking, fuck, you're telling me we're going to get Brandon Staley at DC and Nick Sorensen as special teams coordinator. They're switching around seats on the Titanic and expecting us to clap. And not only did they get their number one option in Robert Saleh, they get a top-ranked special teams coach from the Jets. Now they're getting Gus Bradley. And on top of all of that, they shook hands with Sorensen and Staley and said, thanks for your service. Good luck. It's great. It's as great as possibly it could have gone. And I'm really excited to see what happened. Also, two things. One, people are saying Robert Saleh is a one-year deal. He's going to be leaving to get a head coaching gig. One, that means the defense was so good that he's getting head coaching offers, right? That means the scheme is still working. That means the theory has still been proven. That means you don't have to change the scheme entirely. And two, I think this hire maybe puts a DC in waiting in Gus Bradley, somebody who's had experience not only as a head coach, but calling defenses. And maybe he comes here, takes a backseat to Robert Saleh for a year or 2 years, however long Saleh is here, And I think it's just a little bit extra security for Kyle Shanahan to say, okay, if I'm going to get poached next year, if they're going to take Robert Saleh away from me, I know I at least have Gus Bradley, who is very experienced running this scheme, and I can promote him to DC. And we still have KJ Wright, who's been here for years. I can also promote him. Like, it just gives him more ammunition to work with should Saleh leave, which I think most fans are probably anticipating him being here for 2 years max.
Right.
So
yeah.
I think it's a
and
great
that's the
hire.
other thing too. Like if I'm Kyle Shanahan, I'm like, hey, like you need to come in here, do your thing. I'm going to let you have free reign. Bring your staff in here, but I need you, if you're going to hire some guys, because you got to keep this in mind. Robert Saleh was interviewing for multiple head coaching positions just this same coaching
cycle.
Cycle, yes, the same coaching cycle, which means that he also had to have a staff in mind for both sides of the ball. Forget the offense for a second, though, but both sides of the ball. I mean, forget the defense for a second. Both sides of the ball, he had to have his coaching staff that he wanted to bring with him to these places, right? So that means that you're getting all of that he wanted and the best of the best. I think Gus Bradley was a DC candidate for the 49ers. Now you get the best of both worlds, and you have a built-in contingency plan. Now you have KJ Wright, who played in the same system that we're talking about from Saleh and Bradley in Seattle, right? And you're bringing him up the rankings, and in case Saleh does decide to leave and wants to take Gus Bradley with him, then you have KJ Wright here also. I wish that there was a way to guarantee Robert Saleh was going to stay for 2 seasons, because I would like to see that be the minimum. But at the same time, I think Kyle respects him enough that if he got the right head coaching job, this also gives Saleh some cushion. You have to be desperate.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to say, I don't know if I'm going to get another opportunity, so blah, 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 right? Like, I have to take whatever head coaching position is offered to me. He now has the flexibility to turn down some jobs. And you know what? Maybe it's not next year. Maybe it's not even the year after that. But my name will continually be in the mouths of people for head coaching positions going forward if he comes here and does his job the right way. I think that he's got the respect of enough players. I think he has sat in enough meetings with head coaches and things like that where he has the respect now, and he doesn't have to just jump at the first opportunity. It's going to be one that lines up the way that he wants it to.
Yeah. By the way, David, Staley has been let go. Staley is no longer a part of the staff. Staley and Sorensen have both been given their pink slips per your comment. By the way, yeah, Bazi Mayan, if I'm saying that right. Saleh does need to be here for at least 2 seasons in order to get those comp picks. I saw the chat saying earlier, hey, at least we'll get a comp pick. He needs to be here for at least 2 years in order for the 49ers to get those 2 third-round picks if he were to get a head coaching gig. So just heads up, that's how it works. We won't get 2 third-round picks if he leaves next year for a head coaching gig. I'm hoping he turns into kind of the Spags of the 49ers, right? Like Steve Spagnuolo had a coaching gig with the Rams. I think it was just once, right? He was just with the Rams, and then he went, to the Giants. He was their DC, and then he came back, and then he was the Chiefs DC. But I'm hoping that Robert Saleh is that for the 49ers, is like, hey, I've tried being a head coach. It didn't work out. I'm happy being a DC here with the Niners. But the fact that he was like waiting for these head coaching gigs to, dry up before he took the DC gig here makes me think that's probably not how the situation is. I would imagine he's a lot younger than Spagnuolo. He has, still those career ambitions to where he thinks he got the short end of the stick in New York, which I'm sure a lot of us would agree with. He probably thinks I could write it again if I were to get another opportunity. So I don't think, unfortunately, but my main hope is that does eventually happen where he just comes back. He doesn't want to take any head coaching gigs. He's happy being the DC here.
And you are right. Spags was the Rams head coach for 2 or 3 seasons, and then that was it. He was an interim head coach for the Giants, and then he went back to Kansas City and
that's what it was
there
okay.
Since 2019. I like what you just said. Damn, what'd you just say?
About Saleh being the Spags of the Niners, but I don't think he will because he took all these head coaching opportunities.
And I don't think that there's a GM. Let me rephrase that. I don't think that outside of the Jets, I don't think that there's a GM or owner that feels like Robert Saleh was a problem in New York. I think it's as clear as day that as soon as they hired Aaron Rodgers, all planning went out the freaking window.
Funny
And-
you say hired and not signed, but that really doesn't feel like you hired him because he was like a GM there.
Yep.
He was like
And
LeBron
so-
of the NFL.
Mm-hmm. They traded for Adams, knowing they couldn't afford him. It was like a boom or bust. Like, we're going all in because that's Rodgers' guy. We got to get Rodgers' guy. Like, and then it was like, okay, well, you're not doing what we want you to do, so you got to go. Wait, I'm the head coach. What are you talking about? Like, we're a game out of first place here. Like, what are you serious? So all that aside, I think that he still has that same cachet. I really, really do. He never really got a chance to go and get like his quarterback, so to speak. You got Wilson and you got Rodgers, and you went back to Wilson and back to Rodgers, and what's it going to be? And there was just no consistency going on there. I think that the next job that he gets, he's going to go in there and do some hard negotiating where you're not getting rid of me because we drafted this kid in the first round and he doesn't work out. Like, I want to get, give me 3 years. Let me figure it out, and so I think that he deserves that.
Yeah, I agree. And by the way, if you think maybe the players felt otherwise, just look at their reaction to his signing here in San Francisco. All of the top players in New York were hyped. You saw Sauce Gardner, Quincy Williams, Javon Kinlaw. All these players were like, yeah, I'm so happy to see Robert Saleh, land on his feet with the 49ers and back in a coaching gig, which a lot of people are saying that might lead some of these Jets free agents, guys like DJ Reed, guys like Jarius, is it Jarius Sherwood, the linebacker coming here. So we'll see. We'll see which of these free agents of the Jets are willing to follow Saleh here because they love him so much, because they were so appreciative of his coaching. I would bet at least two. So we'll see. I mean, we already saw he put in a good word.
Kinlaw,
clearly,
baby.
Kinlaw, maybe even 3. We might see Sherwood, Kinlaw, and Reed. If I had to bet, those would be my 3 that come here. But we'll see. We'll see. By the way, I sat in this chair and was begging Saleh not to take that New York job. Absolutely begging him, because I knew it was a shit show. And I knew he was going to get thrown under the bus the second something didn't go well. Fortunately, it didn't. Rudy Ashton Davis, that's also a very good pick. The safety from the Jets.
That's the safety. That's the young. Yeah, he's a young guy, but he's a speedy guy over there.
Right.
He would be our Adrian Colbert.
Right.
All over again,
Oh,
and
good show.
Colbert flashed. He flashed at times. You know what I'm saying? Respect to AC. That's my guy. Like that. That's my dude. It's weird. There's not a lot of players I've sent like gifts to before. Like when he had his baby, like I bought stuff off of their registry to sit. Like he's really like a really, really good dude. AC. He's always
he's solid.
So, he did his thing in Chicago and back and forth on their roster and all that stuff. Just a solid guy. But that's who Ashton Davis could become. He could be our AC and maybe even be used better, right? The Niners don't have any speed in that safety position at all. And so you eye some guys in the draft, but that's a great contingency plan right there. And someone with NFL playing experience. So, Rudy, that's a good call there. Great call.
Did you watch this last Hard Knocks, the Bears last season?
I did not.
They really did a great job of showcasing Adrian Colbert. Like he had like his own storyline throughout the season. It's really good. Unfortunately, he gets released at the end, but it's super cool. Because I interviewed him when I was with you in Nothing But Niners. He was like one of the 3 players I interviewed, and he just seemed like such a chill dude. Like I followed him, he immediately followed me back on social media after. He's just such a down to earth guy, and you're rooting for him the whole time. Luckily, I think he landed on his feet with the Patriots. I could be wrong. But he got let go by the Bears. Sure. But it's really cool. If you get a chance, you should check it out, because I was pleased to see he got his own storyline.
He is he the one that they said the GM cried when they had to cut him?
I think so. Yeah.
I think I remember hearing something about that. So
I'm pretty sure that was him.
We may have even discussed it on here when it happened. No, it says the Bears 2022 to the present. So that must
maybe he's like on the practice squad.
Yeah. So
David, right. I'm sorry, I just can't get past my PTSD with Kinlaw to get on board with a return by him. I hear you, but rewatch that last season he was here. He was solid. Once he got healthy, he was solid.
Yeah, not only was he solid, he finished the season here. He also had a complete season and started all the games in New York. And I'm not saying that we need him to be a starter here, but at the very worst, that's a really good replacement.
Rotational guy.
Rotational guy. Yeah. So, and guys, don't you want to see him come in here and be successful? Like, don't you want to see our first round pick come back and like reclaim what was supposed to be? Like, show us the greatness that they thought they saw in him, right? Like, you don't want to see him go. Well, let me not say it that way, but you don't want him to go to New York and then we start seeing flashes of, oh man, that's what it could have been here. All right, well then bring it back. Bring it back home. Go somewhere, get your feet wet. The Niners weren't going to pick up your fifth year option. It was going to cost too much, and for your history, it wouldn't have made any sense for the fans. Now he's a free agent. You can come in here. It'll probably be cheaper than what your 5th year option was, and at worst, you become a really good, solid rotational player. I like that, man. I like it.
I agree. I would be all for it. I think he's someone that the 49ers should keep an eye on. We got a super chat from Bazi Mayan. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. Let me know if I'm not. Thanks, guys, for providing good Niners content even when they're in the offseason. Happy to be here, man. Happy to be here. It's the night before the Super Bowl. Unfortunately, the Niners aren't here. A year ago, we were here preparing for the Super Bowl for the Niners. But it's still great. We're going to be here, and we're going to be bringing you these shows the entire offseason. I know it feels like it goes at a snail's pace, but trust me, before you know it, the draft's going to be here. We're going to be doing shows about the draft. And then before that, free agency is going to be here. After the draft, we're going to talk about OTAs. And then before you know, we're back in the preseason. So make sure you're hitting like and subscribe to both of these channels because we're not going to stop bringing you content.
Can I ask you a question? And this is not on to anything that we're discussing, but it is Niners related. So it's a 2-part question. One, who are our backup quarterbacks for next year?
That's a good question. Did you see that report? Joshua Dobbs felt like he kind of got the shit end and that he outperformed. Is it Allen? What's his name? Who's the other guy?
Brandon Allen.
Brandon Allen. So who knows? I don't think
he came out on record and said that.
No. There were reports saying that Josh Allen felt like he got the shit end and that he should have started over Allen in Green Bay, which I agree. I think most fans agree, especially since Allen had a fucking injury to his throwing hand. It made no sense to start him in that game. Pockets.
Tanner Mordecai.
Or I would also be okay with a Joe Flacco. I see that he's kind of getting tied to the Niners. People are throwing out Kirk Cousins. I don't think he's going to sign for backup money, but
so I'm looking at the 2025 list of free agents, and my follow-up question is, who could the Niners bring in off of this list that people aren't going to see as competition for Purdy? So I'm just going to run down some names, and don't tell me whether or not you want them to come in or you would like them on the roster. Tell me someone that they could sign that people wouldn't view as competition for Purdy, and you wouldn't mind them being here as a backup. All right. So you got Sam Darnold, Zach Wilson, Trey Lance, Jacoby Brissett, Taylor Heineke, Marcus Mariota, Drew Lock, Jared Stidham, Andy Dalton, Justin Fields, Joe Flacco, 40 years old. Wow. Jameis Winston, Mac Jones, Carson Wentz, Jimmy Garoppolo, Case Keenum, Mason Rudolph. And then you get to the Easton Stick, Cooper Rush, Josh Dobbs, Brandon Allen, Nick Mullins, Kyle Trask, my guy, Josh Johnson, Kyle Allen, Russell Wilson, Teddy Bridgewater, C.J. Beathard, Tyler Huntley, Tim Boyle, Brett Ripien, Jeff Driscoll, Desmond Ridder, Bailey Zappi, Felipe Franks, Sam Ellinger, and Tommy DeVito.
Out of that list, there's one name that stands out to me. I don't know about you. There's one name that stands out to me that I would immediately buy a jersey for. Can you guess who?
You would buy a jersey for?
I would buy a jersey if this dude signed to the 49ers.
Jameis Winston.
Jameis motherfucking Winston. J-Bo, baby. If Jameis came to the 49ers, I would be all for it. I would buy a Jameis Winston jersey immediately. I love that man. He is pure entertainment. You never know if you're going to get an 80-yard touchdown or a pick six the other way, but that is the treasure of Jameis Winston. And he's just such a genuine guy. He's like a little puppy out there on the field, man. So Jameis Winston, I would 1,000% be in favor of signing.
I think his mic'd up in the snow was probably my favorite mic'd up of probably the last 2 or 3 years. Like that was just incredible. He was just so giddy. Like you said, the puppy, like he's just a kid. I remember the first time I let my dog that we have now out in the snow, he was looking at it like, what is this substance on the ground? You know how like dogs sniff stuff really hard when they're investigating. So you see it like go up into his snout. He like jumps back. He licks his lips and, cleans his snout with his tongue. And he's like, wait a minute. It's almost like water. And then he's like just walking around shoveling the snow into his eating it. Like that's how Jameis was out there. Oh, thank God it's snowing. We get to play in snow. Like this is great. This is great. And they ended up winning the game. Like on some bullshit at the end of the game to win the game. Jameis Winston is very funny, man. And he's been riding.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. No.
I was gonna say this is the clip that will always crack me up when it comes to Jameis Winston.
Look for the man beside you. Man, look at the man beside you. Look at him. He counting on you. Look for the man beside you.
Look at this.
Man, look at the man beside you. Look at him. He counting on you.
He's got so many. Dude. He's got so many huddle clips that are just hilarious. Have you seen the one where? It was a defensive lineman. I can't remember which one it is, but he was talking about the one with eating the dubs.
This one, is it this one?
Well, no. So forget like we're gonna eat some dubs, right? It was with the Saints, I believe. But he says this is like he goes through this whole thing like talking about Jameis's his energy and all that stuff. And we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that. And he was like, man, I knew there was no chance in hell from the moment he gave that speech that we were gonna win that game. He was like, there is no chance in hell that we were gonna win that game. Like, what the hell is he talking about?
Look at this. Look at this. This is from 2017.
I want everybody to look at me. I'm gonna pass it to corner after I say one thing. Go. Let's go. That's a W. Let's eat one. Let's eat one. That's a W. How many people want to eat a W tonight? How many eat a W tonight? Come in. That's all I want.
It was this one. They had a good defensive lineman. Damn, what was his name? Oh my God.
Is he on the NFL Network now?
Yes. He's doing. Gosh. I can't remember. It'll come to me later, man. But he was like, I knew there was no chance.
McCoy.
Yes, McCoy. Yes, McCoy. He's like, there's no chance in hell we were going to win that game. From the moment he did that, I knew it was over. It's like, what the hell are you doing? Who was that supposed to hype up? He was like, and thank God Quan just came in and took over after. So you're right. Yeah, that was it right there. That's hilarious, man. Oh my God. Yeah, I love it.
This is another clip. Last one, but I got to play this since the comment brought it up.
I am a better player, but in times like this, it's an opportunity to continue to glorify the Lord even through the toughest circumstances. I know I'm better than this. I know I'm just praying for the Lord to deliver me from pick sixes. Like that's not me. Like a phenomenal game, offense, do some great things, but I mess it up.
Praying to be delivered from pick sixes.
He said it like he was possessed. Like the spirit of pick sixes is in me. Someone help exorcise these demons out of me, Lord. Please save me from pick sixes.
Oh,
like what? He is a walking quotable, man. But I will say this: his energy is infectious, and I feel like he loves the game. I'm not saying that
he's like a solid backup. Like we saw what happened to the Browns when he came in. Like they started winning some games. Obviously, it didn't last, right? But it was the fucking Browns. Like if you put him on the 49ers with a healthy Ayuk and Kittle and Debo and McCaffrey, Ricky Pearsall, like I think that would be a solid backup quarterback. So I am saying it for the memes, but I'm also saying it because I think he would be like a legitimate backup quarterback. He's got a case to be a starting quarterback. There's not 32 quarterbacks that are better than Jameis Winston right now, in my opinion. Right.
Yes. Talk your shit, Zach. Right, come on now. Give that man a chance. Yeah. But see, so that's the question is like, would people view him as competition for Purdy if we were to sign him? And that's my issue. It's like anybody that I would want to bring in, like people are gonna be like so for example, right? Mac Jones. Let's if it was Mac Jones, I think it immediately goes to that's the guy that Kyle wanted all along. He's here to take. Like, come on, like we've seen him. Like, I don't want to go through that again, where it's like quarterback controversy when it clearly shouldn't be. But that doesn't mean that we don't deserve a quality backup at the same time. I don't want to have to sign another Brandon Allen. I don't want to have to sign another Joshua Dobbs, right? I want to be able to sign someone who's good and can win, 3 out of 5 games if he has to play that long. Like, that's what I want. Just be better than bad. That's all I want. And we shouldn't have to, be relegated to just BS players. That's all.
Sounds like you're saying they should sign both Trey Lance and Jimmy Garoppolo and just redo this whole fucking 2020 situation, or 2022, whatever year we drafted Trey Lance. And hey, let's just see what happens. Let's cover all of our bases. We won with each of you guys a couple of games. Let's just see. That would be hilarious. That would be hilarious. Could you imagine?
No. I would be on shows like
Jimmy Garoppolo. Well, I say Jimmy Garoppolo. Both of them would probably rather retire than come back to the 49ers after the way their shit ended here. There's no way either of those guys would want to come here for $10 million.
If I'm Trey Lance, if I'm Trey Lance, you couldn't get me back in this building. And we know Jimmy was fed up when he left. But the whole thing, I remember when they traded Trey Lance, but even right before the trade, they said that he wasn't going out to practice because he was too emotional about being named the backup. And I said that's like damning. Like, you can't say that. Like, that kid handled everything. Yeah. And then to say that he was too emotional because you said that he didn't win the starting, like, cut it out. Like, no, I will never.
Yeah.
We got a prayer.
They kind of sunned him on that one. I didn't really. We got a super chat from Sean. Hey, Zach.
Wait. All right, there we go.
In the name of Jesus, deliver Jameis from pick sixes and send him to church, not the Niners. Zach, no. Let's bring Sherman back, too. I'm all for bringing Sherman on board. I was, people were suggesting him as the DC, and he said respectfully, there's nowhere I should be a DC. I'm nowhere near capable to be doing that. Maybe at some point in the future, but there are, way better candidates out there for DC than me right now. So I don't think it's something Sherman wants. But if he wants to get into coaching, he definitely should start with the 49ers because he could work his way up here.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Start with quality control guy and then just go out there and help, and not for nothing, the DBs would respect everything that he had to say. Yep. And I like the idea of a coach that one has game experience and didn't have the physical attributes to do it at the high level, so they had to depend on the mental aspect of it, right? There's no greater compliment than someone who is good and probably Hall of Fame bound walking up to you saying, man, if I had your physical attributes, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. So let me help you with this side of it. You got it physically. We know you can do it. Now this is where we got to go. And I think that is such a high praise for so many people. And that's why you get guys like Jim Harbaugh who end up being good player coach guys, right? Never mind. I'm not going to say any other names. But yeah, so I think that's why it works out really well.
What were you going to say?
I was going to say Mike Singletary, but he was not a good head. He's not a good head coach.
Yeah, we're with him. Yeah, coach with him. Yeah, do it.
But I think that Singletary would make a good position coach. I think that Mike Singletary would be. But the difference is he had the physical traits, so I don't know if it would work that way for him.
We got another super chat from Sean.
Oh, wait, I got to play another sound effect here. Second one. He says, maybe Jesus is telling Jameis he should stop playing football and become a youth pastor and feed them W's with his fingers. Feeding the youth anything with your fingers in the church, just
it doesn't add up. It doesn't add up.
Yeah, no, we'll leave that to the Catholic priest. Like, we're not gonna.
David says,
and receive me. Sorry, I'm sorry. All right, no more drinks for me on the show. I'm done.
Time out for Mike. David says signing old man Flacco would just feel dirty to me. The guy can still ball. He can still sling it. That's all I'll say. If you needed him for like 3 to 4 games a year, I feel like
would you rather take a chance on Zach Wilson or Joe?
1,000%. 1,000%. But if it had to come down to Joe Flacco, I'd be all right with it. But I do want Zach Wilson. I wanted Zach Wilson out of the draft. That was my guy.
But you still like him? You still think there's potential?
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Respect.
For sure.
Okay.
You know who else is intriguing on that list is Drew Lock.
Yes. I didn't know if you were going to say it, and that's why I just shut up. There's a couple of guys on this list, and I'll be honest with you. Like, I know Justin Fields wouldn't be able to do it. I think that kind of quarterback, just Kyle wouldn't even take a look at that. But I really do like Drew Lock as a potential backup here. He's got the experience in the league. He's been in the league for 6 seasons already. Like, bring him in here, and let's just see what he can do, right? Like, I think that would be a good one. I'm off of pretty much everybody else on this list, though, if I'm being honest with you. Yeah.
You don't want Sam Darnold? I'm
No.
kidding. I'm kidding.
Oh, okay.
I mean, he's probably going to get a $30 million contract. What do you think? What do you think he's going to get after this performance?
I'd be surprised if he broke 20.
Really?
I'd be,
the way it ended?
Yes. I think that the real colors came out. And again, that's why your guy goes out there and wins Coach of the Year. I'm not trying to be funny at all, but like I think the NFL and the voters realized, like, you did that with him. Kudos to you, Coach of the Year. Yeah. Yep.
Which is kind of more egregious that Kyle Shanahan doesn't even have one Coach of the Year. Stefanski has 2. Now O'Connell has 1. What the fuck are we doing here? Like, what? I'll never understand of the 2019 year, John Harbaugh getting it over Kyle.
Well,
Makes
so,
no
okay.
sense. By the way, we got another super chat.
Oh, that's the third one.
Go ahead, Mike.
He said, did he say he was Catholic, Mike? No, he didn't. And that's why I said no more drinks for me. Like, I just put a lot extra on top of that. So I shouldn't have gone there. So, all right. Him winning it this year with Sam Darnold as a quarterback, who was like, we've seen this guy for 6 seasons. He's not who we thought he was, right? And then you go and you have that success. Where with Jimmy, everyone thought Jimmy was going to be that guy, right? And then you look at the year that Kyle should have got it, in my opinion, with Brock Purdy, and it's like, how do you not get it here? But Brock Purdy also appeared to be that guy as well. I think Coach of the Year, they usually get it because you're doing something that people didn't expect. And I understand that Brock Purdy was Mr. Irrelevant. Hear me out. I understand that you thought that Brock Purdy was Mr. Irrelevant, but
third quarterback.
That doesn't mean that he's going to be a bad quarterback, right? We have undrafted guys, Kurt Warner and Tony Romo and all, who have had decent and respectable NFL careers. So we can't just say, like, because of where you're drafted means that you don't get it. But I do like your counter with it, Mike. It was 3 quarterbacks that year.
It was the third quarterback. He was the third quarterback. And by the way, I would love to go back, maybe the next show we can do this, and see how those Coach of the Year awards have aged compared to Kyle Shanahan. Because like Strawberry Reacts, Dable got it in 22. That dude has been on the hot seat ever since. So there's no way that these coaches, at the very least, Kyle Shanahan should have 1 Coach of the Year. At the very least. At the very, very least.
But that's why I said something a couple episodes ago. I think that there's a cloud around Kyle Shanahan. I really do think that he's not as liked in league circles as people think that he is. I really, really am starting to think this, man. It's his umbrella of like the 6 degrees of separation. You worked with me and my dad, or you worked with my dad. And like he just doesn't seem to be able to get outside of that. Even this hiring cycle, like it's even with this hiring cycle, right? You get the special teams guy from the Jets. Was that foresight that Robert Saleh was coming? Like, did Robert Saleh put the good word in there for him? Because I haven't seen Kyle go outside of his umbrella and do anything in this building for anybody. I just haven't seen it. So if that's the case, we know that Kyle doesn't like talking to the media and all that stuff. And look at who votes on these kind of things, right? So I just don't know if he's liked around the league. I just don't know it. And I'm going to stand on that until I see otherwise.
My take on it is it's almost like when you have 2 kids, right? And one is like the overachiever and the really smart kid that does well all the time, always gets straight A's. Then you have the other kid that's not much, not to be rude, but like not much is expected of. And when the kid that doesn't really do that well all the time gets like a B+, they're like, oh my God, pizza party. This is great. This is awesome. Whereas this kid's been getting straight A's for the past 2 years. And it's almost like that's what's expected of you. So I'm not going to reward you. We're not going to reward you with coach of the year because it's like, oh yeah, like we figured you would be a great coach. So like nothing was expected of Daboll, which also kind of makes me wonder, like, why the fuck did Harbaugh get it? Because Harbaugh's a Super Bowl winning head coach. Like, why did he get it that year over Kyle? They had a first round quarterback. I don't know. I don't think he won the MVP that year, but it's frustrating just to see the way it's shaped out. And I think kind of the stigma around Kyle is like, it's almost like he's underperforming, in my opinion. That's kind of the stigma around him. It's like so much is expected of you that the fact that you don't have at least one ring by now, and maybe we're kind of looking at you a little different. I don't know. That's just my take on it.
Well, it's not just your take. That's why half of the fan base feels like he should be on the hot seat. That's exactly why.
True.
Like, the only reason someone should be on the hot seat, I don't care what your job is, anywhere, it's because that means that you are underperforming to the expectations placed upon you. Period. That's the only way you end up on a hot seat. And so the fact that half of the fan base feels that way, a lot of the people covering the team and all that feel that way, is because maybe you should have done something by now. The NFC has been weak for a long time, and we'll see what happens next year when we're healthy and all that. But, you know, like, there are expectations for this team. We should be in Super Bowls, and granted, he's done it, right? We should be making deep playoff pushes, and granted, he's done that. But you got to win one now. Now you got to go out there and you got to get it. So, and this year could be it. We go out there, we get Myles Garrett. It is Super Bowl or bust. And I hate to put that kind of pressure on the team, but fuck it. We're here, we're there. Like, if we get Myles Garrett, after you go out there and you improve your special teams coordinator, you improve your defensive coordinator, his assistants, the only other position coach that we would probably have to improve on, because you still got Bobby Turner for the running backs, right? Well respected. You got Christian McCaffrey, right? Maybe a new wide receivers coach, like Pocket said there at 1228 or 928 on your end. But, like, yeah, like, what other position coach are you looking for? Maybe somebody in the secondary, right? Improve on those DBs maybe a little bit. But there's not a lot out there left to improve on. Like, we have one of the largest coaching staffs, one of the more expensive coaching staffs in the NFL. You got to go out there and do it now. If you got the quarterback you believe in, you got the wide receivers that you believe in. Now, granted, there's been some injuries and regression and all that stuff, but the excuses got to stop at some point, man. Everybody's dealing with it. Everybody. Ooh, Damon talking his shit. Damon is speaking my language right there. Damon, listen, I think that we are the rarity, bro. I think we're the 5%ers of the 49ers fan base, bro. I don't think that everybody feels that way yet, but I am right there with you, brother. I'm right there with you. So.
Yeah, that's a big one. That's a big one. But a lot of people still seem to think that he's this elite coach. So who knows? Either way, I don't think this stigma will go away until he wins a ring. It's almost like Andy Reid. Andy Reid, before he finally won a ring in 2019, that was the stigma, is he can't win the big game. He can't get over the hump. He can't finally drive it home. So I don't know. It's unfortunate. There has been talk of possibly Devontae Adams coming here. I don't know if you saw those reports, Mike, that he wants to come back to a West Coast team if the Jets release him. Yes or no? What do you think?
No.
Not at all?
No. Not at all. And it's less about him as a player and just having to maintain a certain salary cap and all that stuff. And is it worth it, right? I understand that there's concerns about how Ayuk is going to return, but we do have Ayuk still. We do have Debo still. We have Pearsall still. And we have this whole draft that's coming up. And I don't think the Niners are going to be looking for him long term. Do I think that he would help? Absolutely. I think he would improve our wide receiving room, right? I don't doubt that at all. I think that he's one of the hardest working wide receivers in the NFL. But I'm cool.
So I would take him if he's willing to come in on kind of a 1-year prove it deal, not crazy money. And it's almost like it's insurance on Ayuk, right? We're not even sure if Ayuk's going to be ready week 1 of the season. He had a pretty catastrophic knee injury. He tore like every ligament in that knee. You know, like, it's not something that you just snap back from like that. So if Adams is willing to come here on a veteran deal that's like a 1 year prove it and really compete for a ring, I'd be happy with it. But if he wants to come here and look for that like final 3 to 4 year, $100 million contract, like we're not the place for you. Maybe try LA, either spots in LA, but I don't know. We'll see. Excuse me.
Yeah, like if he wants to go to the West Coast, I think the Chargers are probably the best place for him. But
it's a great fit. They desperately need a wide receiver on the outside. They have McConkey, but he's doing it all himself, and he definitely needs some help. Okay, let's get into the Super Bowl predictions before we wrap up here, Mike. Who do you got? We'll just treat it like it was a Niners game. Let's do offensive player of the game. Either team. What do you got?
Come on, man. All right, I'm going with Saquon Barkley. I'm sorry. I'm going to take the low hanging fruit. I think that this is the moment he has been waiting for his entire life. I saw that video with the voicemail from his daughter. My eyes watered. I'm a girl dad, so I thought that was very. I don't know if you saw it or not.
I did. Yeah.
That those kind of messages from my girls, when I get them, it's just like, oh man, like it motivates you. It helps you keep pushing. And she's like, I know you're going to go out there and win, Daddy, but even if you don't, we know that you did the best that you could, and we're still going to be just as proud of you. Like, what is this girl reading a script? Like, who talks like that? How old is she? Right? Like, that just makes me want this guy to go out there and win it even more. So my offensive player of the game, win or lose, is Saquon Barkley.
Okay. This is tough.
Taylor Swift. I mean, Travis Kelce.
Right.
Travis Kelce.
You know who I'm going to go with, your guy, Hopkins. I think Hopkins is going to be the X factor. I know I'd mentioned Xavier Worthy earlier, but I think it really is Hopkins. I don't know if Kelce is necessarily that guy anymore. If DeAndre Hopkins goes off, which I think he definitely has the ability to, he's a big, tall, physical receiver who could fight through the contact. The Eagles are depending on both of their rookie corners to show out. And I think maybe Hopkins is just too much of a matchup for them. Give me Hopkins. And I say he's going to have 6 receptions for 132 yards and a touchdown.
I forgot to try to give a prediction. I forgot that's how we do it. You're absolutely right. I was
Go ahead.
To do that.
Go ahead.
I just wait, before I do that though. You're saying you don't know if Kelce is still that guy. Did you see what he did last game?
I did, but I just don't know if it's consistent.
Okay. All right, that's fair. It was the biggest game of the season and his biggest game of the season, if I'm not mistaken, too. Like, he showed up when they needed him most. I mean, he had a phenomenal game. I don't know. Let me see if I could find exactly what it was. It was Chiefs-Bills, right?
Yep. But also the Eagles are going to be doing everything to take him out of the game and force somebody else to beat them, which I think falls on Hopkins, the veteran presence who's had 1,000,000-yard seasons. But Kelce is also, he doesn't really run routes. He just goes to the open spot of the field. So maybe he still does show up and show out.
Oh, wait. It wasn't the Bills game. It must have been the game before that because he only had 2 receptions for 19 yards.
Probably the Texans game.
Yeah, maybe it was the Texans game. Am I looking at what date am I looking at? November? No, not that one. So it had to be the Texans.
January.
Let me go back here. I just want to see what his stat line was because I was pretty impressed with what he did in that game. Chiefs, Texans. All right. So in the meantime, let me tell you, I think Saquon has 24 attempts. 24 for 121 and 2 touchdowns.
Damn. Okay.
Yeah. I think that there's just certain things you can't stop. And I think he's going to be one. Yeah. Travis got 7 receptions, 117 yards and a touch. Yeah.
There you go.
He was eating in that game. He was eating in that Houston game.
Bazi Mayan says not many people are talking about the fact that fortified Eagles players are dealing with sickness since flying to New Orleans, including Jalen Carter. That'll affect them lasting a full game. Wow, I didn't know that. So definitely something to keep an eye on.
Thoughts on Brandon Graham making his appearance?
Was he activated?
Off of IR. Yeah.
Oh,
yes, he was. Now, how healthy, how much football shape he's going to be in, I don't know. But what do you think?
I
about
think
that?
Just the presence alone provides that sort of spark that is needed. I mean, we saw it with the Lions and Aiden Hutchinson saying, like if they get to the Super Bowl, I should be ready by then. And it's like, even if he can't play, 99% of the snaps, it's like just the simple fact that you're out there lacing it up. I think that motivates his teammates that much more. And it's like, we want to do this for him because we know this is probably his last year. So that probably helps just the mental side. And then with all of his knowledge and football IQ, if he is on the field, he's going to be directing players. That's huge for the Eagles. I didn't see he was activated. That is huge.
Yeah. All right. So my defensive player of the game is going to be the one that Deebo Samuel hates the most. What's their corner's name again?
Bradbury?
No.
Slay?
Not Bradbury. Slay. Oh no, he called Bradbury trash.
He called Bradbury trash. Yeah.
Okay. No. I meant okay. It's I think Darius Slay. Now,
Okay.
I have a thing with him. He makes a big play, and then on the following drive, he gets hurt for a couple of plays. Why he does that, I don't know. But I think Darius Slay is going to pick off Mahomes in this game, and one of them is going to be it's going to be at a critical time. So I'm going to give the defensive player of the game to Darius Slay.
Okay. This is tough because I think Chris Jones is a solid candidate for defensive player of the game, but against that offensive line, I don't know. I'm going to go with kind of a shock one. I mentioned him earlier, Zach Bond, new Eagles linebacker, candidate for defensive player of the year, got some all-pro votes. I think Zach Bond is the difference maker in the Eagles defense. Maybe he's able to cover Kelsey. Maybe he isn't. Either way, I think that he is a great addition and a major change over the linebackers the Eagles have had the last couple of years. Give me Zach Bond. I'm going to say he has 12 total tackles and a forced fumble. That's my stat line for Zach Bond.
Wow.
By the way, Mahomes throws these picks in the Super Bowl. So good shout, Mike. Final score prediction, Mike. What do you got?
All right. I'm going to settle on 27-24 Philadelphia Eagles.
Oh! Okay.
Philadelphia Eagles. Yep.
I'm going to go with 28-27 Chiefs. I can't pick against them. I just can't. After all we've seen the last 3 years or 2 years, maybe, I don't know, 2 to 3 years, I can't pick against them. And hey, maybe I'm jinxing them. I'd be happy to jinx them, but I'm picking the
your
Chiefs.
reverse jinx didn't work last
It did
time
not. It did not.
But I will say this. If the Chiefs do win, I hope they make it to the Super Bowl next year against the 49ers. I would love to knock the greatest team off and give the Niners their 6th Super Bowl. That's the way I'm looking at it. If they win this one, I want the Chiefs to go to the Super Bowl next year just so we can knock them off after their three-peat. Yep.
I'm all for that. I'm all for it. And maybe then the NFL will say, hey, let's even the playing field and not give them these fucking ridiculous calls, not protect Mahomes every chance we get.
Don't give us our home field advantage when we got home field in the Super Bowl. So, yeah.
Yep.
I like it.
Yep. All right. Drop your final predictions in the chat. If you're watching this after, drop them in the comments. If you're watching us on X, reply to the stream. We want to hear them all. Mike, I think that's going to do it for tonight. Let the folks know where to find you. I'm sure they already know, but in case they don't, please.
Yeah,
please look.
it's all there at the bottom of the screen right now, right under my name. You see Mike Andrews 83. That's the X handle. You see NB Niners. That is the Twitter. And you see the Patreon right underneath Zach, patreon.com/NB9ERS. And more importantly, guys, please make sure you guys show some love. If you're watching from the Nothing But Niners channel, go subscribe over to my guys over at 49ers Hive. We have a good time all year long, man. This has been a lot of fun. I can't wait to continue to do this, get into the draft and stuff like that with my guys. Oh, man, it's going to be a lot of fun.
That's right, guys. We got an off season full of content coming, so make sure you're subscribed. You don't want to miss a thing. Go ahead.
One more thing. If you guys are going out tomorrow watching the Super Bowl, please don't drink and drive. I can't emphasize this enough. I don't care where you are. I don't care how good you think you are. Once you go over 3 drinks, just please either take time before you get behind the wheel or just call a ride. All right, just be responsible out there, guys. Super Bowl Sundays are always one of my least favorite things because it ends late. People stay a little bit longer. They have one or two more drinks to watch the post-game stuff, and then they think they're okay to just grab their keys and get behind the wheel. Doesn't matter how short or how long of a drive you have. Tomorrow, I don't even plan on drinking hard liquor. I'm having cigars with champagne all day, just something light to sip on all day. And I'm not telling you guys to be like me or anything. Just be responsible is all that I ask. Drink whatever you want, but just make sure you do it responsibly.
Exactly. No drinking and driving. Call an Uber, call a Lyft, whatever it is. By the way, just a PSA, Monday morning, Carl's Jr. has this new hangover burger, right? They have a breakfast burger. This is a hangover burger. It's got burger patties, eggs, hash browns, cheese, bacon, and it's free if you get the app. So download the app, get the hangover burger Monday for free. I saw a commercial on it. I think Alex Earl, my girl told me about it, has a commercial plug in it. I fucking love Carl's Jr. So get that burger for free. Download the app.
Should
You'll
we
see it on there?
Should we show the commercial? That's
I mean,
incredible.
I don't think it's out yet. I think it's a Super Bowl commercial. But let me see if I can find the ad. Carl's Jr. hangover burger.
Holy snap. It's right here. Well, I don't have the ad, but it's you just type in Carl's Jr. It's free hangover burgers. Wow. How about that, man? Carl Jr. Super Bowl commercial 2025. Yeah, they do have a commercial. I found it on YouTube right here.
Yeah. Oh, it's out already?
You want me to send it to you?
Sure, yeah, send it. Let's see.
It's a 46-second commercial.
Let's see
Here,
it.
I'll copy and paste it in the chat. Or no, I have to send it on WhatsApp, right?
Okay.
There it is.
Let's watch it while we're here.
There you go. How's that, man?
Oh, we got an ad, of course.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's definitely going to be an ad. Sorry, I forgot to warn you. All right.
Let's be real.
There's no audio.
Us after the big game. Been there.
Oh, did my microphone turn off?
And I've got just what you need
Like,
to
I
clear
hear
that
it.
post-party bug.
All right, that's on
The
me.
Carl's Jr. hangover burger. A, double bacon. Yeah, you need that double bacon. Charbroiled beef, hash browns, cheese, and sauce. Just the way I like it. And guess what? It's free the day after the big game. You just have to download the Carl's Jr. app and sign up for my rewards. So get your free hangover burger on Monday, February 10th. He'll definitely need one.
There you go. Free burger on Monday, guys. I'm telling you. Go take advantage. Download the Carl's Jr. app. I get nothing out of this. I'm just trying to share some good information because I downloaded that app as soon as I heard about that shit. So, all right, that's gonna do it for tonight's show, guys. We appreciate you guys tuning in. I hope all of you guys have your bets placed. I hope all you guys win your bets. If you got squares, I hope you win your squares. We will be live sometime next week. The three of us will be back. So make sure you hit like and subscribe to both of these channels. 49ers have nothing but Niners. We appreciate you guys tuning in. Have a great night. Be safe. Like we said, don't drink and drive. And until next time, go Niners.
Go Niners.